Hey traders, welcome back to another daily profit and loss recap video. Today is Monday, July 10th. I just finished up trading for the morning. I had a bit of a rough morning, 2 losing trades, ended up with $1,139 in losses. And in this video, we're going to break down these trades, talk about my thought process behind them. And since there are so many valuable lessons that we can learn from our losing trades, I'm hoping that this video will help you to learn from my mistakes and help you to improve your own personal trading. Okay, so with all of that being said, the first trade that I want to talk about is going to be with the stock MOB. This was the biggest losing trade for me today, and the reason that I was in this position so heavily, at least for just being a starter position, is because if we look at the 1-minute chart on this stock, what we noticed is that this, of course, was gapping up in pre-market. Naturally, because of that, and because of the fact that it was also a very low float stock, the float on this stock, according to Trade Ideas here, is just 258,000 shares. And for those of you who don't know, the float is simply the amount of shares that are available to the public, people like you and I, to trade. So if there's a low amount of shares in the float, that can be thought of as the supply for the stock. And a lot of times what happens with these low float stocks is they will be heavily shorted, and then most of the float, if not the entire float, is then held by short sellers. So once the stock starts to pick up and break out past some key levels, short sellers are going to be forced to cover. And on top of that, buyers who are looking to buy the breakout are going to start buying, and that's just going to lead to a ton of demand coming into the stock and very little supply. That leads to a big short squeeze and a big spike up, and that is the reason that MOB was one of my top watches this morning for a gap and go. Okay, so another thing that I was looking at was the fact that here at the market open, we see that it pretty much trades sideways, it chops around. There's a few rejections up here in the 320s, but for the most part, it's holding its gains really well. It's still making higher lows and holding above the VWAP. And there was a big comparison here between MOB and between the price action that we saw in GRRR on Friday. If we take a look at the price action from Friday, we can see this was a very similar move in pre-market. And then at the market open, it trades sideways, kind of just chops around the VWAP until about 10:15 in the morning, where it starts to finally break out above those pre-market highs. And it ramps all the way up to a high of $5.79. So that ended up being a big runner following that consolidation period that we saw at the market open. And MOB was setting up very similarly. So I was building my way into a position here, anticipating that it was going to finally have a clean breakout through the 320s, push above the pre-market highs, and hopefully ramp up closer to $4 per share. Okay, so with all of that being said, I ended up with a total of 3,000 shares in this position. My average price was about $3.07. And of course, we see that there were a few rejections up there in the 320s. In hindsight, I of course should have been locking in some profits into those spikes up into the 320s, just to of course protect myself and make sure I had some profits locked in. But I didn't do that, and it ended up breaking down under VWAP and breaking down under the morning low. So I was stopped out for a loss of $853 on that trade. So it's unfortunate, but that is the reality of day trading. These people that post on Twitter every once in a while just showing these $5,000, $10,000 profits, but they don't post every single one of their trades and they don't post their losing trades. That's not the reality of day trading. The reality is that you can have a setup that you're very confident in that is very similar to a setup that just worked in your favor even just a single day ago. And this time around, it might not work out the same and you might have to take a loss on it. So at the end of the day, I'm happy that I managed my risk pretty quickly on this trade. And even though it was a decent sized loss, that is just part of day trading and that is the name of the game. Okay, so the other trade for me was CSTL. This was a smaller losing trade. This was on my watch list because it had a pretty strong gap and go on Friday. We saw that most of the movement to the upside happened earlier on in the morning. And then it kind of just traded sideways and held its gains really well into Friday's close. So I was keeping this on watch for a continuation today on Monday. And once I saw that it started to briefly pull back under the $20 per share area and then bounce right back up and start to go red to green for the day, that to me was a bullish sign. I was looking at that as an opportunity to get in, expecting it to push back up and push above Friday's high. So I took a starter position. I bought 500 shares to start off with in the 2030s. I believe my average was $20.36. It moved in my favor a bit, but it just didn't quite get to where I was looking to lock in profits, and it ended up turning against me, and I was forced to take a loss on this trade once it started to break down below the morning low. On that trade, I ended up with a loss of $285, which brought my overall loss for the day to $1,139. Okay, so all in all, I believe this was the biggest red day for me since I started doing these profit and loss recap videos a little over a month ago. And although nobody wants to have a red day, of course, if you take a look back at my past videos, you can see that a pretty average profitable day for me is right around $1,000. So for me to lose a little over $1,000 on my worst red day in the past month, it's definitely not the end of the world. It's something that we all have to deal with as traders. So I know that I'll be able to bounce back, and I hope that you were able to learn something from my mistakes in this video. And if you did and you found some value in this video, please make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you want to hear about the stocks that I'm trading in real time, as well as work with our team of traders, get access to our day trade, swing trade alerts, our detailed trade plans, our live custom scanner streams, and so on and so forth. All of that can be found in the Market Master group. There's going to be a link down below in the description for you to get signed up. But anyway, thank you again for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and good luck with your trading.